welcome everyone to this instalment on Cocaine Anonymous. We're going to be looking at step 4 today in the programme of action outlined in the 12 steps of Cocaine Anonymous. I've been joined today by Martin. Do you want to say hello, Martin?
Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody back. Yes, Martin here again. I'm very appreciative to be here. Thank you.
Good stuff. Glad you're here, Martin. And Alid's joined us today.
Hi, my name's Alid and I'm an addict.
Good stuff. So we are now on step 4. We have recorded an introduction and a video on step 1, a video on 2, and one on 3. So this is obviously on step 4, which is we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And so that's what we're going to be chatting about today. But before we get into that, I've asked if Alid would be kind to share his experience, strength and hope around recovery and a little bit of his story with us for a couple of minutes. Alid, come on in.
Right, thank you very much, Paul. My name's Alid and I'm an addict. And yeah, just a little brief introduction. I came into CA because I just couldn't stop, and I didn't know how to stay stopped. I tried everything from counselling to drug and alcohol services, psychologists, and nothing worked for me. Consequences kept happening due to my drinking and using. I ended up going to prison, and all sorts of. I had no proper relationships with families, and then I got down on my knees one day. I got down on my knees because I'd had enough. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Got down on my knees and said, God, please help me. I can't do this anymore. And it wasn't my worst using time in my life. It's just I'd had enough mentally because I didn't know how to stop. And the next day, I just blurted out. It was strange. It was my family were going on about it, my drinking and my using, and I blurted out that I go to a meeting, and I ended up going to meetings, and I went to a meeting and I listened to all. I was told straight away, listen to the similarities and not the differences, and basically I liked all everyone's stories, what they shared, because I could relate to it all. They were speaking the same language. They'd done the same things I'd done. And I thought I was alone. I thought I'd only stooped to the low levels that I had. But I found these people that had done the same sort of things and felt the same way as I did, which I never thought anyone felt the same way as I did. That loneliness and the despair and the fear, which I couldn't describe at the time, but yeah. And I was told to stick around to get a sponsor, and who was armed with the facts about himself and would take me through the work, take me through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and take me through the steps. And that was my experience. I found the sponsor, went through the steps, went through the big book, went through the steps, had a spiritual experience and a spiritual awakening after I'd gone through all the steps. And I've been clean and sober now for quite a few days, and now I just work with others and trust God, clean house. That's what the program is. Trust God, clean house, work with others. That's what the program is, doing service. And that's it. And it's important to have all the triangle in place: service, fellowship, and I always forget the other one. It is a service, fellowship, and
unity.
Unity. There's unity, isn't it? Yeah, I was going to say unity. I second guessed myself. There you go.
That's beautiful, Alan. Let me come in right there. You know, and what a wonderful message about faith and courage that you've managed to get free and stay free from active addiction for such a long time. Just wonderful. I've been privileged to know you quite a while now, and you know, and hear you share many times. And what a miracle. You know, and miracles happen in these rooms, don't they? We get free. Martin, do you want to come in for a moment before we get into step 4?
Yeah, of course. First of all, I'd just like to say what a fantastic show that was. It's a wonderful insight, and it shows the developments of yourself, Alan. And I'm along similar lines in the sense that I've managed to be able to know to transform my life as well, for the positive for myself and for those around me who have involvement in my life. So wonderful to hear that, and yeah, just a beautiful introduction. But thanks very much, Alan.
Good stuff, Martin. Yeah, so we get free, we stay free from active addiction. Welcome to anyone to this podcast. I just want to mention that we're not spokespersons for Cocaine Anonymous. We're simply members that are sharing and presenting our experience of the program, the steps, and the fellowship. That this is the 5th video in a series of explanations and around the steps, the program, and the fellowship. So we've done an introduction, we've done a video on 1, 2, 3, and this is step 4. And obviously we'll be going on through the rest of the steps. So stay subscribed, like, and we'll be adding videos after we get through the 12 steps on recovery topics. So without further ado, today we're going to be looking at step 4, which is we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. So we took a thorough stock taking of ourselves. And, you know, in step 1, is the first stock taking in the steps. There's 3 steps that where we take a fearless look at ourselves. Step 1, we take a fearless look at active addiction, the consequences, the unmanageability of active addiction mentally, financially, emotionally, spiritually, maritally, and at work, and things like that, legally. You know, we take a thorough, honest look, a self-appraisal in step 1. And in step 4, we do another inventory, but this time it's more detailed. It's more on the line of resentments, fears, and harms that we've committed. And you know, I don't know about you two guys, but for me, the 12 steps, it looks at the whole of life, the whole man. It's a very holistic thing. So we don't just do step work around drugs and addiction. I take a look at all the resentments I've ever had, all the fears I've ever had, and all the harms I've ever done in step 4. So as you can see, I've got up on screen, the 2 main books we use are a book called Alcoholics Anonymous, which we often call the big book. And then we also use another book called the 12 and 12, the 12 steps and 12 traditions, which is what's on the screen right now. It's about half a dozen pages on step 4, and I'm going to be scrolling through them. You can rewind or pause this video at any point to read what is on the page in front of us there. So I'd just like to ask you, Alid, your thoughts on step 4 and its importance to you in your process of recovery.
Step 4 was very, very important in my recovery, and it was a step that led to me being free from the obsession to drink and use. Basically, I took my time to do it. I procrastinated. It didn't take long to do, but I procrastinated for a lot of it, which I don't recommend at all. It's better to just get it out of the way. But it just opened up so many things, how deluded my thinking was, to be honest, how off key I was with everything, and how I blamed everyone else and everything else for the way I was, and I couldn't look at my part until I did step 4. And that's it.
Lovely, good stuff, good stuff. Martin, what was your experience around working step 4 in CA?
Well, I'll be honest with you both and those listening. Obviously, going through step 1, 2, and 3, I was naturally then involved in the meetings and hearing people talk, and naturally people talk about varying things, including their experience of the recovery. And step 4 would frequently come up, and people would say, you wait till you get to step 4 type of thing. Now that's a challenge. Now, I was a little bit daunted when I reached step 4. I thought, oh gosh, am I going to be able to handle this type of thing? I'll be honest, it was quite freeing. I found it quite freeing personally, because by that time I was weeks into my recovery at this time without using any alcohol or drugs, and therefore the clarity of thought was coming back. Therefore, in terms of resentments, there was a vast number of resentments that I had hidden. So I feel that when you stated, Paul, initially about the holistic approach, which holistic just means, you know, the whole of us. I felt that this was aiding my recovery because it was looking at my emotional side and how I was dealing with, or actually not dealing with, my emotions, such as how certain individuals, friends, family type of thing, I'd held resentments towards, that had affected my, you know, my pride, my self-esteem, and I think my emotional security and sobriety as well. And I'd acted, and then I had to then look at where I was to blame in these matters, which then obviously it comes in the principle of being honest and open, which sometimes my ego was at times telling me, well, no, that wasn't your fault, Martin. But when I actually went in depth, which I tried to wholeheartedly do, I had to admit that sometimes some of these resentments were down to myself and my actions which I took. And then I looked at my fears, and some of mine included fear of failure, fear of closeness, and fear of embarrassment, fear of rejection, fear of not being liked by peers, and fear of missing out, like in social situations, and fear of overreaction. So there are a lot of fears there, type of thing. And due to a lot of those, I would become defensive and become aggressive, type of thing. So the drugs is an important factor because it allowed me to escape, type of this. But once doing the step 4, so I've looked at the resentments and the fears, and also the sex conduct and harm done to others, which again included my family members, close family friends, and work colleagues. I realised I'd done a lot of harm to other people, and at times was often jealous, suspicious, and become quite a bitter person. But then once I started writing this down on paper, and it was out in the open, as it were, I felt I felt a lighter individual, and that I was getting somewhere, and I didn't need to mask myself and hide myself behind the use of the drugs. And so this step was thoroughly revealing for me. It was a well and truly a step in the right direction, 100%.
Well, I think that's marvelous. And you know, when I take chaps through step 4 now, Martin, I like to get through the whole thing in 8 days max, start to finish. It's pen to paper, one thing at a time. So I do it resentments, fears, and harms. I get them to write one resentment to show them how to write it, who the resentment's against, what it is, how it made them feel, and perhaps how they ought to have been. And then we go on to the harm sheet, the fear sheet. They'll write one fear, how it made them feel, what the fear was about, and then onto the harm sheet, write one harm, who, the details of it, and what ought they to have done. And then they know how to fill out each sheet, and then they're encouraged to sit down and write all their resentments in one go, if possible, in one sitting. And in my experience, if you encourage people to get after it and prayerfully do it, they can get most of them down in one sitting, and then it doesn't become a long, drawn-out affair.
Yeah.
And then leave it then, and then perhaps if any more come to mind during that day, they can always put them on, you know, and very often there'll be 2 or 3 resentment sheets, and then leave it for a day, and then go on to the fear sheets and sit down and write them all out in one go. Yes. And then leave it for another day. If anything comes to mind, you can just pop them on there, but not to jump from sheet to sheet. And then leave it for another day or 2, and then go to the harms and write them in one go. That's just how I work it. A sponsor is someone that's armed with the facts about addiction and recovery. And we encourage people to take these 12 steps with a sponsor. You know, you find sponsors in Cocaine Anonymous meetings. In most meetings, online and face-to-face, people will make clear that they're available for sponsorship. that they're able to take you through the 12 steps. And a sponsor is someone that's been in recovery a while, has managed to find freedom from active addiction, and is working a program of recovery. And then what the sponsor will do is, once you've filled out all 3 sets of sheets, they will go through line by line with you, and discuss each one with you. Yeah, so step 4 is really important. It's a part of the cleaning house. The steps have been described as trusting God or your higher power, trusting your creator, cleaning house, with a view to us then being helpful, productive members of society.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on step 4. Do you want to come back in, Alid?
I was very fearful of doing step 4. I was very fearful, but because of what everyone told me about step 4, I was listening to people about, how it's going to be this, how hard it was and stuff like that. But it wasn't hard when you get down to it. Like Paul was saying then about getting down in one sitting. That's what I did most of my step 4s like that. And they were fun, and it just showed me that I couldn't let go of anything. I held on to every little thing that someone had done against me, but I thought they had done stuff against me. I held on to it. I didn't have the capacity to let it go until I started working through, till I started writing it down and seeing it in black and white in front of me.
Yeah.
And the harms I caused. I didn't want to look at the harms I caused, to be honest, because I thought I was open-minded and I was a really nice person and I didn't cause any harms. And then you see then, oh, right, okay, I wasn't that person at all. I had very low self-esteem and a big ego. So I didn't think much of myself, but I tell you that I was great, and really I'd be dying inside. So that's what I found out, and it's like it points you to your defects of character, that's what you get down to in the end, what you did wrong, and then your defects of character, which is whether you're dishonest, selfish, self-seeking, fearful, or inconsiderate. And
absolutely. Sorry, do carry on, Al.
That's and then, but I've concentrated on the defects, and really it's to find a list of your assets as well, so you don't.
Yes, well, that's right. That's right. It's all with a view to getting the exact nature of wrongs ready for step 5. The stuff in the last columns of the 3 sets of sheets, the resentment, fears and harm sheet. But we'll talk about that when we come to step 5. But yeah, it's very therapeutic, listing every resentment we've ever had, whether it's against employers, partners, former partners, neighbours, friends, children, parents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, in-laws, for any reason throughout the whole of life. It's very, very therapeutic to list all our resentments and to list all our fears. And if we do step 4 thoughtfully and prayerfully, I've seen persons very much set free. What do you think, Martin?
Yeah, I think I can concur. Get them words out. Can concur with both everything you both just said there, Alid and Paul. I think being honest and open, that honest, open and willing, the HOW, to delve into these resentments, fears and harms. I think when I was writing them initially, I think what I was finding it a little bit uncomfortable. However, the more that I begin to do so, as Alid stated, and yourself, Paul, I think it became a therapeutic exercise, in the sense that I felt liberated and enlightened in myself, that I wasn't then in a cycle, if we can say, like a cycle of never ending upset, but I was then trying to find the fine line of recovery type of thing, and recovery in dealing with these resentments, fears and harms was freeing myself and ensuring I became more enlightened, and obviously the people that we write down there, that we've got these issues with, or that we've affected, or we've been affected by, we later, not to go into that now, but we are able to put this to amends, which is just absolutely beautiful. And I just, for one, I was very apprehensive, like I stated at the beginning. However, the more I was doing it and continue to do this on a daily basis, if these type of issues, resentments, fears, harms step up, then the freer that I just feel, and that the happier basically I become. And it's I think this will benefit not just people with addiction issues, but probably, in my opinion, most people in day-to-day life. But it was a massive burdening release for me, and just hence the reason I'm feeling a lot more positive in day-to-day life. Obviously, we still have our day-to-day issues, but using the remedy of the fourth step and putting pen to paper and using our thoughts with clarity just aids the way for a more loving and compassionate day-to-day living, in my humble opinion.
Well, I think that's absolutely right. And, many of us come in initially concerned with addiction problems, but the result of thoroughly and prayerfully and thoughtfully working these steps with a sponsor that's armed with the facts about addiction and recovery usually tend to a happier and healthier future, not just for us, but for those around us. The ripple effect is huge, and we learn then to not live in resentment. And one of the key words, God gave Bill Wilson great wisdom when he wrote these steps. He says, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. We were very good at making a searching inventory of other people. But in step 4, we make an inventory of ourselves, so we clean house. And then as we go through the process, we learn to forgive and to accept and live life on life's terms and take one day at a time. But, so we're almost going to the end of our recording right now, folks. So, in summary, I'd just like to ask each of us to take a minute or so to gather our thoughts. And, what's your feelings, Alid, around the essence of step 4 in the process of getting free and staying free from active addiction?
Yeah, it's just seeing how, I don't know, it's very freeing step, and it's just seeing how deluded my thinking was, to be honest, because some of the things I had resentments for were quite funny, because it was just ridiculous, like a primary school teacher or something like that. And it's, my experience was, it did make me freer, and that's it really. And it made me learn more about what I suffered from as well. So it made me learn more about what I suffered from and more about myself. And and that's what it is. I didn't know who I was until I started looking into this step 4 and letting go. And it's about forgiving myself as well for things and others. Yeah.
Beautiful, good stuff. Martin?
Yeah, I would say on a personal basis, it was less about, as you were saying there, Paul, it was less about looking outwards and blaming other people for what I felt that wasn't my fault, and what other people had done to me, and that resentment of aggressiveness and hate, and that I had in my mindset. It was about clearing that out and acting responsibly, I think, and maturely. And it was necessary for me to, I suppose, to dig deep. And when you start to dig, metaphorically type of thing, you've got to dig out the dirt before you reach the gold. And I think that's what it was. I think I was digging deep into my resentments and into my fears and into the harms I've done. And once I was able to clear out the mess of what I had often caused, I think then it's freeing up the spiritual nature of this program for me, and just allowing me and allowing a realization of the fact that I do have a heart of gold, and I can use that heart to make better and to assist other people. But it's truly, it is a very, very important step that needs thorough attention, certainly.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think when we're resentful and when we're fearful, we can be harmful.
Yeah.
Hurt people. Misery likes company. If we are resentful and fearful, then very likely we'll be hurting people, not necessarily whacking people over the head, but upsetting people, deceiving people, lying about people, cheating, that kind of thing. You know, and the spiritual experience we have in the rooms of recovery is a transformed life. You know, I'm well aware when I go through these steps that, you know, persons often don't appreciate the depth of transformation that happens through step work, you know, through prayerfully and thoughtfully going through this process and getting clear. I mean, it says there, to avoid falling into confusion on the screen over the names, these defects should be culled. So we begin to become aware when we're proud and greedy, lustful, angry, and envious and lazy. You know, and so this, just a quick reminder, what we're reading here is step 4 at the 12 and 12, which can read anytime free or listen to anytime free at aa.org. So we're pretty much towards the end of the podcast now. We've perhaps got another minute or so each. So, you know, I mean, as looking at how do you see, very briefly, Aled, you know, the previous 3 steps leading up to 4, and then going on from 4 in the order of things?
What's that? Yeah. Describe the first 3 steps, what they mean to me.
Well, if you like, yeah.
Well, the first step was admitting to myself I was powerless and my life was unmanageable, which was easy to do because I was broken, and all the consequences. That was quite an easy one for me when I first came in, to be honest. The second step, was a growing step because I didn't believe straight away. I didn't have that. Was it? Yeah, I believed that there was something greater than myself, a power greater than myself, because everything I tried hadn't worked in it. And when I relied on myself, everything went wrong. And I was told it very simply to begin with, and that's just grown. My belief in a power greater than myself has grown and grown as I've gone through the work more. Step 3, made the decision to turn my will and life over to care of God as I understood him. That was just all that meant to me. People overcomplicate. Step 3 is you made the decision to carry on with the program and that it would work for you because you can see others around you that it works for. And again, your connection with God improves as you go through the book. And then step 4 was just to write, to moral inventory of yourself. Just look at yourself, innit? And that's to free yourself and to find out who you are. And yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. And how did you see 4 in the progression of the steps, Martin?
I thought step 4 is, well, I still do. I believe it's pivotal. I think it made me feel a lot lighter. As Aled said, 2 to 3, a power greater than myself. I didn't find that too difficult, and I'm pleased that I didn't find that too difficult because it's assisted me with just asking for assistance and putting issues I've got to a higher power, which is greater than myself. And as Aled alluded to, all the things that I tried to assist in my recovery, my solutions that I've proposed to myself just hadn't worked. So I was unmanageable, as step 1 says. The power greater than myself. I now try to pray type of thing. Well, I pray every single day, here, there, and everywhere. And my conscience, in terms of my prayers as well, and God and the prayers assist with that, because I think deep down I know the right and wrong thing to do. But where 4 comes in is the fact that now that I've got full awareness of the effects that my actions, my behaviors, my thoughts can have, not just on myself, but have upon others. So it's enlightening from 1 to 4, and it is, as I've said previously, a natural progression which has just been written beautifully for all our lives to just spring and flower, which mine certainly is doing at this specific moment in time.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, you know, I think it's really important. I can't really add a great deal to what you two chaps have said, other than to say, you know, honesty, open-mindedness, willingness are the principles of the first 3 steps. And then 4 is a really thorough activity step. You know, we look at any resentments we've ever had, any fears we've ever had, and any harms we've ever committed of any type. It's really thorough. But as I say, you know, I get through it in 8 days, you know, very thoroughly. So, you know, I can't say enough about it. It really is an important step. So, you know, I mean, I think the great thing about it is the freedom it brings, the clarity it brings, you know, and, you know, when chaps get through the 12-step process, they keep their written work, usually, you know what I mean? And when they look back months and years later, they realize just how pivotal and important and impactful you know, the step work was and is. You know, and there's various ways to go through the steps. Many persons after month, 2, 3, 4 months will go through the steps again, sometimes with the same sponsor in a different way. There's various ways to go through the 12 steps. Personally, I have a lot of time for the 12 and 12, which is what's up on the screen right now. You know, I think that says everything that needs to be said, as well as the big book, of course. And there is other literature available. Yeah, so I think that is more or less where we are at for today. You know, I'm really pleased. We've got another page or so. I don't want to go through it too quickly on the screen. It's quite a long reading, step 4. So, you know, in general terms, for me, it is that it's very cleansing, you know, pen to paper. I'm not one of these that I don't really like chaps to do it on an electronic device. It's pen to paper. You know, it's very therapeutic. So, you know, just a quick word about sponsorship. I mean, in a few months, I'm going to put the meeting screen up with some of the meetings. There's over 1,000 CA meetings online every week, but I'm going to put some of them up on the screen in a moment. We'd need a very big screen to put them all up. So my suggestion would be to folks, if you're listening to this, you're struggling with active addiction, or you've managed to get clean, you want to stay clean, would be to get yourself a sponsor. Get yourself a big book and the 12 and 12 and attend meetings daily, you know, and listen. Most meetings, sponsors will make themselves available, putting their number in the chat. We have sponsorship lists that are actively monitored, folks that are armed with the facts about addiction and recovery and able to take you through the 12 steps of CA. So by all means, come along to We Can Recover and other meetings. So would you like to come in briefly, Alid, and then I'll ask Martin to come in, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for asking me today. It's been an honour to get involved in this. Yeah, just briefly, that's just what you've said. I haven't got anything to add to that, to be honest. It's just, it says just letting go of the wreckage of your past, isn't it? It says it in the big book, and it is that's all it is. It's just to let go of everything and to become free. And that's all step 4 is to me. And
absolutely. Martin?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, Paul, for your service again, and Alid for being our VIP. Very important Welsh guest today. Absolutely sensational. I think that it's whether you've done this before, the step 4, or whether you haven't, I think it's always a good reminder as we've done with, you know, the introduction on the podcast, step 1, step 2, step 3, and now step 4, it's always healthy just to have a brief reminder or a long reminder, just to keep ourselves in touch, because you know, addiction and drug use can at times just be around the corner. So I think keeping our minds, you know, clear and thinking with clarity, I think these steps and listening to this, what we're trying to, the message we're trying to put across, I think can only assist us and put. So it's a step in the right direction to do it, and it's a step in the right direction to be listening. And if you know anybody else who may be suffering type of thing, I think just to open them up and just refer them to this this YouTube channel type of thing, this podcast, I think is could be an amazing thing that could save lives. So I'm very, very grateful and honoured to be part of this.
Good stuff. Well, thanks, Aled, and thanks to you, Martin, for being here today. We'll be meeting again soon to do step 5. So until then, my suggestion would be get yourself to a meeting, get some literature. On the screen right now is a list of meetings, and you're welcome at them all. Okay, until next time, it's bye from me, family.
Yes, Martin signing off as well. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye from me. Aled?
Yeah, bye from me.
Thanks, everybody. Good stuff. See you here again soon. Subscribe and like. There'll be more content added soon. Thank you.